really what we've got, what we've seen with this result is a huge victory of ordinary people of our community over elite vested interests. People have stood up and they've said, we're not going to put up with this. And if this sort of motion goes forward, then it'll be an absolute victory for elite vested interests over the community, the majority community. And it's appalling. This, I don't know where the big one's gone, but
here it is.
Look, you know, you might argue it's not elite vested interest, but I saw the adverts and the advertorials in the Channel magazine, who's run by the same people who lost the election last time over the same issue. I mean, we all know that. People see through what's happening out there. And then this sort of thing happens. People receive, I mean, my mother in Northcote, my children in Birkenhead and Beach Haven, they all got these through the letterbox. It was far and wide. I mean, it probably went down to Hamilton or Tauranga or Scandinavia, for all I know. All our advice for council comes from Scandinavia these days, so I'm sure this went there. Look at it. 18 pages, full colour, well-researched, says the facts, and the people saw through it. They saw what they, well, had the council logo on. I mean, maybe that's why people didn't vote for it, because they thought council supported it. I don't know. But, you know, we had so much money, and I didn't see that amount of money being spent by the community for, you know, for a result that's so resounding as this. I saw some Facebook pages and congratulations, and that's really great. But I think, I mean, I watched this roll out and I got lots of emails, and despite what I've heard tonight, I didn't reply to most of them deliberately because I didn't want to be accused of orchestration or having a predetermined view. I've got a view, and my view is informed by the public, 80% of the public. But the most cynical thing I saw was renaming the Now Centre a community facility. And, you know, it's just disgraceful. So some people might have been misled in the marketplace, was it, the Takapuna market? But 89% of people, you know, weren't misled. You know, 89% didn't want the Now Centre. You can't mislead 89%. John Key tries to do it. It doesn't work, you know. Politicians try it all the time. People see through it because the collective intelligence of the voting public out there far outweighs anything that politicians could put out. So I think people weren't fooled by the slick publications. I think you know, there's a lot of talk about myths, but people weren't fooled by any myths on either side. They knew what was up, and they made up their mind, and they voted accordingly for it. And that was 80% support for a camping ground and resounding opposition to the Now Centre there. And I just want to remind members of the Local Government Act. And it's Section 82, 1E, Principles of Consultation. It says that the views presented to the local authority should be received by the local authority with an open mind and should be given by the local authority in making a decision due consideration. And I don't think that's happened here. So what's really concerns me is that the board is not mandated to make the sorts of decisions it's been asked to today by our chair. And to attack the integrity of the research for political purposes, I think is appalling, and it's a slight on the people that conducted the research to draw out and try and reshape the facts of how the people voted and how what the public wants. But I think one of the real concerns I had is what was raised tonight, and I haven't seen the affidavit, and I think, you know, if we look at the Local Government Act about receiving things with open minds, then I'm really concerned that if what we heard tonight was correct, because I always wondered why there's a hard push for something that nobody wants. Council holds millions of dollars in trust. North Shore City money, actually, we sold the old works depot to put that money into community assets. And during amalgamation, it was quickly shunted into a couple of things to try and save it for North Shore. And now, all that's gone by the board, and the council's got hold of that money. And I can't help but think that there is some tie between council and the objectives in here. So I hope not, but I think there's been a really murky process, and we need to investigate that. And I think we need to investigate whether there has been a predetermined position in the chair's position that seems to be in breach of section 7.7 of the Auckland Council Standing Orders. This is the very thing that he and Alison Rowe accused Jan and I of way back, and actually we were exonerated. So probably out of all the members sitting around this table, we're the ones that actually don't have and been proven to not have a predetermined position. So we need to hear more about that, because understanding orders also that if a meeting is found to be invalidated, the results still stand. So irrespective of the outcome of whatever that hearing might be, or the accusation, or the complaint might be, any results of tonight still stand, and that's a bit shocking, really. So we need to. And it's particularly important because the chair's got a casting vote. 2 ticks, 2 votes. What they call that one? Double dipping, or So chair's got 2 votes, but the public's not allowed 2 votes. So it's a very thing that the public were accused of exercising. So it's really important because of that 2-vote thing. So there's only one mandate here tonight, and that's actually for the camping ground to be retained for the people. And we can't come to any other conclusion. I've moved my motions purely based on the outcome of the poll, that 80% of people want the camping ground. Out of their second vote, they wanted the camping ground, and only a few percent wanted that now centre. And we should actually go through a process now of bringing the people's will to fruition around this table. And one thing I probably agree with the chair on, we need to put this thing to rest, but actually if we move the way the chair's intending, this won't be put to rest. This will be festering, it'll be ongoing, it'll create major divisions in the community, major divisions. And when a community group, or a couple of community groups, is able to bring a resounding result like this in the face of massive amounts of resources and money being poured into an opposing view, that's got to tell us something, doesn't it? It really does. So I ask board members tonight, really, to do either one or 2 things. Either we vote to embark on the exercise of getting advice as to how the camping ground can be retained in whatever form, and there might be a compromise on the form, who knows, and start and work through that process and try and mend the community and the board's relationship with the community. Or else I ask the chair to actually withdraw his motions. Yes. And not put them on the table like that, and have a proper analysis of the different processes, because obviously the spreadsheets that we've got aren't adequate and they're not fulfilling. Let's just withdraw all the motions and go away and ask for full advice on all the options and how to best serve the community in this process.
Thank you, Member Gillen. Do any other board members wish to speak to the amendment? Sure.
Are we, and sorry, this probably sounds a really dumb question, I don't mean it as such, but is this a motion replacing, adding, or by amendment?
I think it's by addition, by way of
Because I
addition,
just want
because
to make
these.
sure that we're not getting a negative in it, that's all.
Well, okay, so.
Address that in the beginning.
Well, I know, I'm just not quite certain that there's not a negative there.
I think it's been moved as an amendment by replacement, so I assume that the A through F here are replacing the Chair's recommendations. Are there additions?
If there are additions, then I think probably a lot of us could live with what is there, because obviously the processes then get an opportunity to all be explored. If it's by replacement, I'm concerned that there is a negative in there, and I don't think it's going to give the opportunity that Member Gillen was actually indicating.
So can we just clarify then,
So
Member Gillen, is it by addition?
To clarify, I'd really love to be by replacement, but as you say, it's a direct negative,
Yes,
and the correct process would be to not put it there, just vote it, try and vote it down, and 4-3, I know what the result is, because I can count. Up to 80%, actually.
Yeah.
So I've done it.
Can we just clarify, there isn't a direct
addition.
negative by just requesting additional information, which is what you're requesting. So I think,
right. So it's
by addition is where we can establish that it is. So the A is already included in the original, so we don't need the A. But the B onwards, the motion is that be included by way of addition to the current resolutions. Does that clarify?
I think so. The only thing that I think you'd need to probably address, you need to go down further, that request officers, gone too far, request officers and local board work with HET to find us. I think you would need to maybe put investigate, because that to me is actually almost a negative again. It's indicating that...
Investigate, or would you rather keep it as fine?
I mean, it's probably a futile exercise, given that that's probably been undertaken, but it could be all part of the research that's going to be undertaken.
I don't see it as a...
No, okay. I don't see it as a direct negative either.
Okay.
So on that basis, are there any further speakers to the amendment? No? Okay, well then it's been moved by Member Gillen, seconded by Member Cohen. We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Contrary? Carried. So we'll now move back to the substantive debate. And are there any other members who wish to speak on the item? Member Cohen.
I was just trying to assess the law together, actually. Just give us a moment.
Sure, we're happy. That's
Member Gillen, Member Rose.
Member Rowe, you'd like to speak? Okay, Member Rowe. While everyone else is digesting it, if you can take your speaking to.
Hello, everybody. I just like to say thank you to everybody as well. It's been a really challenging debate tonight, and it's been a challenging evening from all kinds of perspectives. Just quite difficult actually even sitting here and listening to it all. But when I came into the Devonport Takapuna local board, of course I don't have the history that the other board members have. They sort of have been privy to this, whole story, and I sort of have made it my sort of mission, I suppose, to really find out about it. But when I came in again, the camping ground was off the management plan. It was sort of it was gone, and it was sort of supposed to be history. Of course, we all know that people change their minds, and lots of the board members here have changed their minds as well. And I have to admit that I've actually had many, many sleepless nights over this Northern Reserve, which of course has been my stomping ground, I guess, through my days of running through it and round it, and sort of spending a lot of time in that space. I had no idea, of course, then that I'd be in a position of being responsible for making a decision on that reserve space, which I am taking seriously. It's a very important decision. But I feel as though this Northern Zone activity, or what do you call it, the Northern Zone, the Northern Reserve has chewed up so much of our time, and it's been a really sort of convoluted process, if you like. I hate that word, but it's been sort of divisive, and it's been really complex, and I have actually realised that, there has been a lot of misinformation around this space. I mean, that's been sort of talked about clearly tonight. It's been really difficult to get the right information, and I've had to sort of get my little spade out and go digging and talk to a lot of people to really find out what the real facts are. And so I was interested that following the recent public feedback, despite the resounding results, many people, well, quite a lot of people contacted me. A lot of people suggested that we probably weren't hearing the silent majority, given that we've got... Yeah, well, I mean, there we go. I'm just telling you what happened. Considering we have 55,000 people in our district, in our Devonport Takapuna local board, and it was suggested that these are probably the young mums and dads with the children who are sort of working flat out 24/7, heads down, doing everything they can to make a living and keep the show on the road, the people that didn't have time to read the North Shore Times. But as a board, I believe we have to make a unified decision, and there have been many examples of the lack of transparency tonight, I guess, and I probably don't need to go through those, but I guess some of the representatives you should have... I guess some of those, a few short examples are the ones, for example, around the representatives who perhaps should have been involved in the working party. I was actually there in some of those early meetings, and I was very concerned that people were left out of that working party, because it meant that we didn't get the full clarity around their ideas and their plans.